Alright, hello again, Paul Power, Robert Nelson, reading from Keys, Love Letters from God. It's January 3rd, 2019, and this is number 23 in the book, and it's called Knowing.
I have to warn you, I guess, like I have in other cases, terms that we use in daily lives are going to be given some new definitions. So there are a few situations in here where you're going to want to say, what? How can I say that? But just relax and go with the flow and you'll find out. And it'll make plenty of sense. Knowing. How much knowledge do you have? This question does apply to knowledge, for it is a quantitative issue rather than a qualitative one. Knowledge is a tool of the ego, and the ego is a method of remembering even though through adversity. I know, there'll be more explanation on this. The ego you made. For it is a limited and limiting view of yourself. Capital S on self meaning God. You, however, are created, for you are my vision of myself. So we're created, but we ended up making our egos. Compared to your eternal existence, the ego's lifespan is but a second. The ego therefore feels threatened, even from its very inception. Only that which is not eternal is unreal. Only that which is unreal can be threatened. The ego then is nothing more than a dream, a temporary one at best. And at its command is a battery of defense mechanisms and tools, one of which is knowledge. Knowledge has one purpose and one purpose only, which is to serve the ego. I'm going to break for a moment and explain something here. The ego is not bad. So, a lot of teachings tell you to basically wage war on the ego, or that it's evil or it's bad. The ego is something we created. We didn't create it, we made it. And it is a lesson laid for the learning through adversity. The ego is limiting us, which we're willing to accept for a little while in our view of ourselves. Now, God's not hurt by this, but we are. So we have to understand, while the ego exists and it does its little tricks, it serves the false god of fear, but don't declare war on it. And I explain this very simply with this: many things you declare war on, you give the power of God to through your attention, and they get stronger. It's sort of like with some of the super germs we have in Earth now. Those germs, we declared war on them. War on polio, for example, and war on other types of germs, various bacterias. And what we have found, yes, we did defeat them temporarily, but they altered, they changed, and they got stronger and more resistant to some of our best warfare against them. Declare war on the ego, and you're giving it everything at once. Your attention. And it's sitting back on laughing at you because you've let it have your attention and the power it needs to keep existing. It must be understood that the ego is not the villain. For in the ultimate reality, there are no villains. So you must ask yourself, who was in charge of your life, the ego or you? A son of mine once told you that you couldn't serve two masters at one time. so it is with decisions that you will make regarding the answer to the question previously stated of who are you. Remember, the ego is such a limited view of your, and again, capital S, self, God's self. It is then worthy of being, is it then worthy of being given full command of your life? Remember also that the ego is a fine tool, but just that, a tool. Never let it become the master of you and your life. The ego is only one facet of your being. To put all of your awareness and all of your awesome authority in that one facet is to rob yourself of your birthright, your true unlimited identity. Imagine looking, well, they call it a fisheye lens, through a door. It gives you a very small view, a very limited view of the reality. Why not open the door up? See the real reality. This is what we're talking about here. The ego is that little tiny fisheye lens that limits your view of who you really are. Knowing, on the other hand, is the death knell to the ego and its bag of tricks. For in knowing, you see the ego for what it truly is, a method for remembering, with the outcome already inherent within it, even in the midst of its perversion. What this simply means is that knowing means knowing yourself, knowing God. That's way beyond knowledge. And this knowing is qualitative, not quantitative, like knowledge is quantitative. Of course, that which is to be remembered is your true identity, our identity. Knowing, however, is not quantitative, for it governs perception. Therefore, knowing by its inherent nature is qualitative, just like I said. As there is only one true perception, knowing serves it and not the ego. In this case, consider your adage, it is not what you know, but who you know that makes a difference. He put that in quote marks. I am the one you truly know. With me comes the end to the need for knowledge, fact-finding, understanding, interpretation, judgment, guilt, fear and reaction-based thinking. For these are tools of the ego. The greatest tool of the ego, however, is hopelessness, depression at its worst. Hopelessness is hell. And I would willingly walk through this hell in order to help you retire the ego and its insidious tools to the trash heap. Hopelessness is a cry for wholeness, even as is loneliness. Remember, one of the letters we read in the first part of this book, Keys, was about the cry for wholeness. Knowing is the key out of hell. It has been said that after my son's crucifixion 2,000 years ago, he descended into hell and broke its chains. While this may be picturesque, it is also quite meaningful. The hell into which he descended is the hell of separation, the separation that we seem to think exists between us and our Creator. The chains which he broke were the chains of hopelessness, fashioned by your own hands, so to speak. For you have forged chains of hopelessness that would have you believe that you could ever be separate from me, your source, and your true identity. Knowing then is beyond remembering, as it allows the miracle of the perception of wholeness to manifest in your lives and as your lives. So wholeness manifests in our lives and as our lives. As I stated earlier in this work, I know you even better than you know yourself. In my eyes, you deserve everything wonderful. You deserve the best. I invite you to see yourself and one another even as I see you. You have a delusional belief that which you understand, you know. This is simply not true. The statement should be that which the ego understands, it owns and controls. We can see then how knowledge, understanding, can actually serve the ego. Even from its inception, the ego knows its mortality, and it uses every tool at its disposal to glean from you the very fuel which is the life's blood for the ego. In doing so, it actually sets the pattern of its own undoing. For you will sooner or later tire of the ego's games, and you will see through it. You will see it for what it is. You will then lay both the ego and its tools aside as just so many false gods. Deny the ego its fuel, and salvation is fulfilled. In knowledge you control your brother. In knowing you accept him as you free him and yourself to share in the grace that is heaven. For this is your identity and your birthright. You, I am so happy to know, God. I want to tell you something. This is getting into the realm, I guess, of metaphysics, if you want to put it that way. But if you could see the chains and locks which we have forged against ourselves as we attempt to forge chains on those around us, you would be horrified. You'd be sick. You would understand what hell really is. These letters, I really should call each one a key. Keys, love letters. Each one of these letters is a key to unlock a chain, to unlock a lock on a chain, and to feel the chains drop off away from us so that we're free. And only when we're free can we see others around us in the same light of freedom, and we can offer it to them then. It's up to them whether they take that opportunity or not. That's not up to us. But we can remember who we are, regardless of what people around us are handing back to us. And we don't have to be angry at them. We don't have to go to war against the ego. We don't have to get upset. What we can do is simply say, I know who I am. Maybe you don't, and that's okay. But I'm offering you something better. And sooner or later, in one lifetime or another, you'll take it. And I've just helped speed up that process. You're welcome. That's the thing. Maybe keys won't change the world now. And I can guarantee you, I'm not Harry Potter. I don't have a Hollywood wand. Wands were made of wood from a holly bush. I'm not I Dream of Genie. I can't go boing and change reality for you. I can do it with you. The invitation is here to change reality with us. What I'm offering is an invitation to sanity. That's our birthright. We've been denying ourselves that by forging chains and locks on those chains. This is an opportunity to unlock those damn chains and be free, and offer that freedom to those around us, inasmuch as they're willing to accept it at the time. And that's up to them. But guess what? As we free ourselves and as we attempt to help others around us, even if those people around us say, screw that, I'm not accepting that, what's wrong with you? What we've already done is bring their attention to it. And that in itself has shortened the period of time it'll take for them to finally accept it. Whether they do it the next minute, the next hour, the next week, or the next lifetime, or in between lives. That's not up to us, that's up to them. But we have shortened the process and done them a favor. Whether they ever know it and come thank us or not, it's not important. Only the ego has to be thanked. The true us already knows the outcome. Doesn't need to be thanked. The ego says, gotta do it now. My lifetime, so I can pat myself on the back. But the real us, the real true us, says, hey dude, it's already a done deal. So cool your jets. And the ego sits back and goes, ew, I'm starving. I'm melting, ew. Tell you what, with the ego, it's okay to laugh with it. Don't laugh at it or you make it an enemy. When you make an enemy, it gets stronger because it has your attention. Laugh with it. Hey, pretty neat. I see what you did. That's okay. Now go sit in the corner. Well, I do what I'm going to do anyway. I learned not to hate my ego. It's part of me. But it's a temporary part of me. And it can't have the amount of power that it once had. Because I'm never going to let it have it. It's not a matter of attack, it's a matter of denial. I'm not giving you the fuel you need to live. Have a nice short life. Okay. I know I'm being a little dramatic and a little stupid, I guess. But I think that goes with being alive too. Godspeed.